Have you ever felt a gaze that seems to pierce beyond your skin, straight into your heart? In the vast savannah of East Africa, where the sunrise paints the grass in shades of gold, lived a lion named Biruti. Rangers called him Thunder, and not without reason. His deep roar echoed like distant thunder, shaking the very soul of anyone nearby. Biruti was animal royalty, a majestic king with a black mane dancing gently in the wind, ruling his kingdom with quiet strength. But even giants can stumble. In a moment of misfortune, Biruti became trapped between two tree trunks, putting his majestic status at risk. Who could save a king? Would it be the lionesses, fiercely loyal to their leader? The whispering wind among the acacias? Or perhaps humans, those whom no one would dare think could approach? Dawn in the savannah was always a breathtaking spectacle. Dry grass crackled beneath Biruti's powerful paws, as if the earth itself announced his presence. The air carried the fresh scent of wet soil from the previous night's rain, blended gently with the aroma of wildflowers. Biruti confidently led his pride, his amber eyes, glowing like embers, tracking a lone, elusive impala. Have you ever seen an animal carrying the weight of an entire kingdom on its shoulders? Biruti embodied that power, strong yet subtly weary, aware that even kings have tough days. He guided the hunt, the lionesses forming a perfect line, their golden bodies nearly invisible in the tall grass. But suddenly, the unexpected struck, like a hidden bend on life's path. The impala, cunning as the wind, zigzagged and darted through a narrow gap between two thick trunks shaped like a V. The sharp crack of its hooves on the ground was a challenge, almost a taunt. Biruti, with instinct burning like fire, gave chase. Kings don't hesitate, do they? He lunged after the prey, his muscular body forcing through the gap. But those trunks, hard as stone, had other plans. In a flash, he was stuck, his broad chest wedged, unable to move forward or back. The low roar that escaped him, almost a groan, sliced through the morning silence. Can you believe it happened? The king of the savannah, vulnerable, trapped like a bird in a wooden cage, his claws scraping the bark in desperation. The lionesses, loyal as shadows, formed a circle around him. Their growls were deep, laced with devotion and anguish, as the hot wind blew, carrying the metallic scent of Biruti's sweat. He clawed at the trunks, his talons carving deep grooves, but the wood wouldn't budge. It felt like a sign from the universe, as if the savannah was saying, even the strongest can fall. The vastness around him seemed to close in, the sun climbing relentlessly, heating the earth and his trapped body. And now? Who could help a king cornered, surrounded by lionesses ready to defend their leader with their lives? The Rangers, of course. Jonas, Kofi, and Daniel, the guardians of nature, had heard the legends about Biruti. The savannah's heat pressed down, and the hum of insects formed a nervous chorus, as if nature itself was on edge. Jonas, the leader, wiped the sweat from his brow, catching the warm scent of dry wood lingering in the air. He knew Biruti from afar, who didn't know Thunder? But there, caught between the trunks, the lion looked less like a king and more like a giant in need of rescue. Have you ever felt that chill down your spine when you know you have to act, but the risk is bigger than you? Jonas felt it, but his calm eyes hid the fear. He glanced at Kofi, who held the tranquilizer gun with steady hands, and at Daniel, already gripping the chainsaw, its motor still silent. Rescuing a lion surrounded by lionesses? It was like walking a tightrope over a chasm. No sudden moves, Jonas whispered, his voice soft like a steady stream. The lionesses, with golden eyes that gleamed like coals, growled low, the sound rumbling like distant thunder. There was a human-animal connection there, fragile but steeped in respect for the wild. Kofi adjusted the gun, but no one wanted to use it. A sedated lion could collapse badly, and Biruti was already exhausted, his chest heaving with effort. Daniel, the youngest, clutched the chainsaw, his heart pounding so loud it seemed to echo across the savannah. How do you plan a rescue like that, with the king trapped and his guardians ready to pounce? It was a delicate dance, where one wrong step could cost everything. Their strategy was simple but perilous: use the chainsaw to carve space in the tree without hurting Biruti. Jonas signaled for Daniel to start, but just thinking about the machine's noise made their stomachs churn. What if the lionesses charge? Daniel asked, his voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. Jonas just looked at him, a half-smile masking the tension. "Trust us and trust the king." It sounded crazy, right? But there was a quiet strength in that plan, a blend of courage and care. The group positioned themselves, each step calculated, as if treading on broken glass. Jonas spoke softly, almost as if asking the lionesses for permission, his eyes meeting theirs in a wordless dialogue. The savannah seemed to hold its breath, the air thick with the scent of tension and dust. The sun scorched the savannah, and the air now carried the sharp scent of hot resin dripping from the trunks. Daniel fired up the chainsaw, and its metallic roar tore through the silence, making the lionesses prick their ears. Their growls mingled with the machine's hum, like a symphony of tension. Jonas, eyes locked on Biruti, kept the calm of someone who's faced storms before. Have you ever felt your heart race but had to pretend everything's under control? That's how the Rangers felt, balancing courage and caution as the trapped king stared at them, his amber eyes flickering between pain and pride. Daniel cut into the wood with precision, each crack of the trunk echoing like a dry thunderclap, while splinters flew like sparks in the sunlight. Biruti growled low, his claws scraping the ground, but, can you believe it, he didn't attack. It was as if he knew those humans were his only hope. Kofi, with the tranquilizer gun ready, whispered, "Hold on, Thunder." The human-animal connection was almost tangible, a thread of trust woven through the tension. The lionesses, restless, took short steps, their eyes glued to the Rangers, ready to react to any hint of threat. Jonas raised a hand, signaling calm, and the group worked in silence, only the sound of the saw and the savannah's hot breath speaking. Take a second and picture it, a trapped lion, humans risking everything, and the wild watching, as if judging every move. The chainsaw groaned, and splinters flew like tiny stars in the sunlight. The wood began to give, the V opening like a reluctant door, each creak bringing a breath of hope. With one final snap, the trunk split. Biruti stumbled, his legs shaky after hours of being trapped, but he rose, majestic, his mane swaying like a crown. The lionesses stopped growling, almost in reverence, their eyes shining with relief. The Rangers stepped back, hearts in their throats, sweat streaming down their faces. The king was free, but what would he do now? Attack? Run? Or was something bigger about to unfold, something that would show the true power of care? The sun hung high, and the savannah air carried a faint scent of warmed earth, mixed with the relief settling over the Rangers. Biruti stood still, his black mane trembling in the breeze like a flag of victory. His eyes, two golden pools, met Jonas's for a moment that felt eternal. Have you ever felt a moment so profound it seems like a gift from the universe? There were no growls, just a heavy silence, steeped in respect for the wild. Biruti didn't attack, he just took a deep breath, majestic, and stepped forward, as if testing his own strength, as if telling the savannah the king was back. The lionesses, who moments before bared their teeth, approached slowly, their soft steps making the grass whisper like a shared secret. It was a breathtaking scene, animal royalty reuniting, not with fury, but with silent reverence. The soft sound of their bodies brushing against each other was like a hymn of nature, a song of gratitude. Jonas, Kofi, and Daniel stepped back, their hearts still racing, but with faint smiles creeping across their faces. Who would have thought, right? Humans and lions, together, in a moment of pure solidarity. The broken tree stood there, a crooked monument to what happened, its scattered splinters glinting in the sun, marking the natural balance restored with such care. Biruti led his pride, a serene procession that seemed to dance with the savannah. Each step of his echoed quiet strength, but also vulnerability, a reminder that even kings need help sometimes. Jonas smiled, wiping sweat from his face with his sleeve. Thunder's back on his throne, he murmured, and Kofi let out a low chuckle, relief escaping like a sigh. Daniel, still holding the chainsaw, looked at the broken tree and shook his head, as if trying to believe what they'd done. Pause for a moment and feel this, a lion free, humans relieved, and the savannah breathing in harmony, as if thanking everyone's effort. The pride moved off, their golden silhouettes fading among the acacias, the sun reflecting off their coats like fire. The rangers watched, silent, as the breeze carried the fresh scent of stirred grass. That day would stay etched in their memories, and in the hearts of anyone who heard the story. It was more than a rescue, it was a lesson in empathy, in how courage can spring from care, in how humans and animals can meet in a moment of pure connection. If Biruti, the king, could speak, what would he say about the humans who risked everything for him? The sun sank toward the horizon, painting the savannah in orange and purple, while the fresh scent of night rose from the earth, mingling with the chirping of crickets waking up. Biruti and his pride were now just shadows among the acacias, but the story of that day lingered like footprints in the dust. Have you ever stopped to think about what an animal can teach you about life? Biruti, the thunder, showed that even animal royalty can be vulnerable, and that true strength lies not in domination but in compassion. That rescue was more than an act of courage, it was a silent pact between humans and the wild, a reminder that empathy is the bridge that connects such different worlds. Jonas, Kofi, and Daniel climbed back into their jeep, the engine's rumble blending with the chorus of crickets filling the night. They didn't say much, but the weight of what they'd experienced shone in their eyes, like stars reflected in a lake. Who hasn't felt their soul lighter after helping someone, human or animal? The broken tree, now a landmark in the savannah, told a story of power wielded with care, of guardians of nature who chose to risk everything out of respect for life. And Biruti, with his majestic stride, seemed to carry that lesson beyond the horizon, as if the whole savannah whispered its thanks. Sometimes, the greatest teachers have four paws and roar like thunder. This story makes us reflect. How often do we overlook the chance to help, to build bridges, to act with heart? The savannah doesn't forget, and neither should we. If this story warmed your heart, the next video suggested by YouTube will move you even more. Don't miss it. And you, have you ever had an animal that changed your life? Share it with us in the comments. Your story might inspire others to see nature with new eyes.